Welcome to the Married into Crazy podcast. Snooks and I are still navigating the season that we're in, so in the meantime, let's revisit a spin that we had on the Three Little Pigs and how it relates to marriage. I hope you enjoy this one. It's going all the way back to 2020, but it still has some very sound advice.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy E.T. Look, if you're looking to or you got to raise the bar on your marriage, you gotta click the link and get into Married into Crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, this coaching is gonna take your relationship to another level. Now look, you already know you need to raise the bar. You know that already. So stop thinking or overthinking. Click that link, and Marriage into Crazy is gonna take you and your spouse to marital bliss. Now you know. Click the button. Let's go.
Welcome to the Snooks and Lovey show.
This is your chance to sit back and get your ear hustle on with a couple that's been married 20 plus years. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality in our slice of America.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to the Snooks and Lovey show. This is Lovey.
This is Snooks.
And we want to welcome you to the 22nd episode of the Snooks and Lovey show. What?
So why do you have to say what number it is? I just want to know is that important? Like the number?
I don't know. I feel like it is. I mean,
okay. I was just wondering. Because you make it a point to say number 22, number 21. It's the 19th. I'm just asking.
I just think it's nice to actually know. I mean, I know it says it when you listen to it, I guess, or when you select it, but
okay. I just wanted to know what was the significance of.
Okay, you remember that when it comes time for anniversaries, and they say, "What anniversary is it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's just an anniversary. I don't need to know the number."
Okay, so you're going to compare our marriage to you saying what number it is for a podcast? Really?
What really matters? Is it the podcast that matters, or what episode it is?
What?
What really matters? Is it just the content and the quality of the episode?
That's why I'm asking. Why do you feel the need to put say what episode it is?
Right, exactly. So what about anniversaries? Isn't it just the quality of our relationship, and how the many years of happiness and laughter?
How would you know how many years if you don't count them?
I got gray hair. I can count those.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a shaving kit. You can take that off.
That doesn't make no sense whatsoever.
Take the shave. You don't have any gray hair.
I do that anyway. Anyway, this is so sorry, everybody.
See, did you hear him just kind of talking about? And your gray hair are not for me. They're from your kids. Your kids.
And we'll go. Oh, they're my kids now. Oh, this is not starting out the way I wanted it to start out. Well, I hope everybody out there is staying warm, dry, out of the rain. It's been crazy. If you're in the Midwest, I have friends that were in that crazy freeze storm or frozen. I don't even know what they called it, but
frozen. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends say, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be nice. The high today is 0." That's divorce weather. I guarantee Snooks would leave me if I told her we were moving to the Midwest.
I was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about divorce? Okay, first of all, gray hair because of me, now divorce comes out of your mouth. What's going on? You don't want to remember the number of years that we've been married on our anniversary? You alluded to that.
It wasn't me.
Okay.
It wasn't me.
But just so we're clear, no, I wouldn't divorce you. If you wanted to move somewhere else,
like in the Midwest, if I wanted to move by myself,
I'm saying, yeah, you could go by yourself. You can come back to California and visit. I got to stay here.
No, California's where I'd rather stay.
Exactly. I get allergic in the cold ice.
Oh, so Green Acres. All right. Well,
Ooh, I'm cold
I don't even know
right
where
now.
we're going with that. Look, she's got a blanket all over her.
Oh my goodness!
But the
it
weather
is
was nuts. So
so
out here in
cold.
California, so supposedly sunny California, it's been raining and the wind.
been
I
crazy.
swear our house was going to get blown over the other day because the wind was just no joke. I don't know that I've ever seen wind like that before. Not at least not out here.
It's not funny, but it's like it would be quiet, and then just out of the blue, the wind just starts going crazy. And I'm a light sleeper, and I heard it all, and I wanted to wake Lovey up and be like, "Do you hear that? Be awake with me." So we can listen to the wind together.
No. You know what? I would sit up. I would probably wake up like, oh yeah, I hear that, and go right back to sleep.
Yeah, you're blessed that way. You can do that. Lovey could get up. He can wake up, say he needs water, and come downstairs to get water. And say the refrigerator, I don't know, wasn't producing any water. He could go in the garage, get a water bottle, drink it, come back upstairs, and lay right back down and be asleep in less than 5 minutes. And I'm just like, if I have to get up and go to the bathroom, I'm like, please don't wake up. Please don't wake up. Please don't wake up.
Hey,
It's bad. I wish I could do that.
I wasn't always like that. That was the Air Force, so the different units I belonged to, we were able to, the bottom line was you got to get your sleep when you can. So if they say, you got some time, get some sleep, you need to be able to go to sleep almost on command. Get it in where you can and then keep it moving.
I need to learn that trick.
Okay, well, you can go sleep in the backyard.
Okay. Now you're trying to put me out?
Anyway.
Okay.
No, okay, so with this weather thing, it's been nuts, but it made me really think about something. Because there are times, I swear, it felt like, or it sounded like somebody was just pushing on the house. And it made me really think about relationships to a certain extent, to where
It's stormy and rocky.
that's part of
Where
it.
are you going with this podcast, dude?
No, that is part of it. Because I feel like the relationship's always under construction. But it reminded me of the Three Little Pigs. Okay, so you remember the story, right? Three Little Pigs.
Yes.
And then the big bad wolf came and was
The
blowing
first
down.
one had straw. The
Right.
second one was wood. The third was brick.
Absolutely correct. And the wolf was always like, I'm going to huff and puff and blow your house down. Right, exactly. I feel like that's the world. That's all these obstacles that are out there. It's like the big bad wolf takes so many forms in a relationship that, it just comes after you. But the question is your relationship built of straw, of wood, or of brick?
Okay.
So that's the thing that's interesting to me, is because if your relationship is built of straw, then of course, just like the story, it's going to crumble, right? So what happened? So
The very first wind that comes through, the very first storm that comes is going to blow the house away. And depending on who you are you going to pick up and rebuild it again of straw? Are you going to improve on it and do wood? Or are you going to be smart and do brick? So,
well, it's interesting. So in the story itself, what happened? The three pigs were brothers, I believe.
yeah, they were they were brothers, and I want to say the one with the brick was telling the straw and the wood, don't build your house on that or with that, because he's gonna come, or I don't know if he
It's
said
just
that.
not going to be sturdy. I don't think they really I don't remember if they referenced the wolf or not.
But he told him he shouldn't build their houses with that. And the two were like, no, kind of like, you don't know what you're talking about. So the wolf came to the straw house. He huffed and he puffed and he blew it down. And then the one in the straw house went to the wood house. And the brother, gave him sanctuary, basically. And the wolf came there. I'm going to huff, I'm going to puff, and I'm going to blow your house down. And then the two brothers went to the brick house. And I think the brick house let him in. And, of course, he tried to huff him. The wolf followed, tried to huff and puff and blow the house down, but to no avail. So.
Okay, I just got to ask this. So those of us that are generally in our age group, if you're like 40 and above, when Snooks was actually telling the story, were you guys all playing that cartoon that used to come on? Were you playing that cartoon in your head? Because I swear, while she was telling that, I'm watching the old Warner Brothers cartoon in my head. I'm replaying it, and I'm just watching it, kind of like the little Porky Pig looking guys running around, and the wolf that used to wear the suspenders or whatever would come and he was blowing. I swear that was going through my
Well,
head.
that's what I was calling memory from is the cartoon
For real?
because they had like overalls on and a straw hat
Yep,
or
yep.
something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that is so funny.
That's
I'm curious.
funny.
You guys got to let us know. Make sure you contact us either via our email, which is snooksandlovey@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook, or just go directly to our website at snooksandlovey.com and let us know through that. You can actually contact us there. Let me know if you guys were thinking about the cartoon when Snooks was telling that. But you're absolutely right, Snooks. That's the way I remember the story. And I don't know, when I look around us, I'm not going to call anybody out potentially, but we have so many friends and family. I won't say so many. It's not like there's a ton of people, but there are people around us whose relationships were built on straw or of wood. And it took a little while, and things came. It might have been finances. It might have been other relationships. It might have been the baggage that they brought with them. But there were so many things that really caused them to actually not withstand the wind gusts, if you will, of the big bad wolf, however that whatever that form was, and it crumbled. And to be completely honest, I mean, we're not pointing fingers because I want to say that, we told the story so far of how we met, honeymoon, and how she likes to bring up how I overspent.
I
that
brought
first
it up
date.
once.
I don't know.
Okay, maybe twice.
Yeah, 22 years later, she's still bringing it up.
Just it's relevant.
So, I mean, but we brought you up to speed on that. And then also, we just shared, the whole forgiveness story about how the person and I came face to face at my place of employment. There's so much more to tell you guys. And part of it, we're going to develop this a little bit later and then kind of share it with you. But there was a period when Snooks and I were, our house was built of straw. Very much so, to the point where we didn't know if we were ever going to make it to wood. I didn't know if we were ever going to make it to wood because do you remember what year was that?
Year 4.
Year 4. Why don't you tell the story?
I don't want to
Tell the story. No, I don't even want to wait now. Tell the story.
It's so funny. Okay, well, I mean, I could say I'll say what happened. It was our 4th anniversary. We were at Morton's Steakhouse, and
Spending money that I didn't have.
you had money anyway. I just kind of had my fill of the disappointments, and I told Lovey I wanted a divorce on our anniversary at dinner.
So
At
picture
Morton's.
this. Romantic dinner. The husband thinks he's doing big things, taking his wife to Morton's. The meal's coming, they bring the food around and you get to select the sides of your steak and this, that, and the other and your sides. And I think I'm doing big things. So I'm completely oblivious. And she says she wants to talk. I feel like Dave Chappelle. Well, I always got to talk about some stuff that I did. She says she wants to talk. And next thing I know, she's telling me she wants a divorce
Yeah.
on our anniversary dinner.
Okay, that wasn't very tactful. But in all transparency, to be honest, I just couldn't fake it anymore. I felt like I was going to explode if I did not get it out. Because I don't know if you remember, there have been a couple of times where you're like, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? I'm a crybaby. I've admitted that as much. And there have been days, there would be times that I was really just so sad because I was so unhappy. And I didn't want to say anything because I was like, okay, I'm tripping. I still kind of replayed what happened and how could I say I want to leave, and we went through this traumatic experience. So part of me was like, oh, I don't know how to correct it. I don't know how to get back the feelings that I had.
So you were staying with me out of guilt?
Wouldn't say guilt. Maybe a little bit of guilt. Some obligation. It was, wasn't my best look, I guess. But to be honest, I loved you, but I was upset. I was hurt. I felt like I was alone. And so I was like, you know what? I can't do this. Oh, but I was trying to go with, I would just cry. And he'd be like, what's wrong with you? Oh, nothing. And you never really pushed, like, no, let's talk about it. You just kind of like, okay, well, I hope you feel better. Kind of, I don't know. Maybe because, we've already established, like I said, I have my cry days. And I don't know, maybe you thought that that's what was going on, but I just couldn't take it anymore. So I was like, I gotta go. You gotta go. We just can't be together. So
And yeah, it was funny. It was not funny. It wasn't funny. Ha ha. Definitely not that. Not at that time. But I remember you just saying, I can't be married to you. And it was just such a blow that,
yeah,
and what it came down to really, and I take full ownership of it, it was when she said that she just couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't like I was beating her or I was
no,
running
nothing
around.
like that. Nothing like that. No, nothing like that. Okay, so we talked about our story and what happened. But one thing that I think that we've said this before, unresolved issues. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but unresolved issues. If you do not get those issues resolved, it will just become a buildup and a buildup and a buildup. And that's kind of what happened. They were unresolved issues. And then I felt like I wasn't being heard. Not so much that I wasn't being, yeah, kind of, I felt like I wasn't being heard, but also that it was just like, oh, kind of, it is what it is. You just have to deal with it. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way they are. There was always an excuse for the bad behavior that I felt was projected towards me. And I'm like, that's not cool. I can't do this.
And what's crazy is I think, hindsight's 2020. And I look back, and just so you guys know, what we're talking about is everybody has a role to play, and whether it's in the positive part of the relationship or even the negative part, everybody has a role to play. It's never 100% one person's fault. And what was going on was I wasn't stepping up and being a man in my responsibilities as a husband and sticking up for my wife. I was caught somewhere between being, trying to please my mother and trying to please my wife. So I ended up becoming a yes man, where I was trying to make sure everybody was happy. Because prior to me becoming a husband, the most important woman in my life was my mother. And being a single mom and all the sacrifices that she made for me, and no matter how much she and I battled, because we were so much alike that, we were sometimes like oil and water. But I love no one more than her. And then when Snooks comes around, it was a new kind of feeling, a new kind of love, and I was committed to it. So I'm committed to my wife, but then I was still committed to my mom, and I won't say I was a mama's boy.
No, I wouldn't call you a mama's boy. I really would not say, yeah, you were a mama's boy. I don't think I didn't ever think that you were a mama's boy. I just felt like you kind of said, you were trying too hard to please everyone. And I felt like, you left me, not physically, but I felt like you left me because you were trying so hard to make sure she was okay. And though I got that only to a certain extent, but at the same time, like, for me, I felt like you can't forget about your partner. But at the, like you said, everyone has a part to play. Everyone, I, I couldn't, I guess I didn't really know how to really articulate in a positive way how I was feeling. Because if you think about it, we really did not talk about these things. That's why the whole unresolved issues is very important. When you're in a relationship, we know communication is key. Maybe some people don't know that. Communication is key, but not just any communication. It has to be effective communication. We did not know how to meet each other where we should have met each other, where we were, You kind of picked up, well, we got married, and then we just kind of went on about, okay, so now we're husband and wife, and let's just do this. But we didn't really deal with what happened. Not really. We dealt with it. At the time, we thought we dealt with it because, like I said, you went to your counseling, and I was being there trying to be supportive. But in the end, I ended up being resentful. And how does that sound? I'm going to resent you after what happened, I got my nerve, Who am I to, are you serious? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, girl, you are tripping. And not only that, but thinking about the things that upset me. There were people that I know that are close to us, family members, that had really toxic, really bad relationships that, you talk about neglect, benign abuse, emotionally, mentally. I didn't have that kind of thing. So I was like, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe,
Right. I'm not as bad as that. So
Right. And someone even said that to me on more than one occasion. Girl, are you kidding me? I wish I had such and such. And oh, I wish blah, blah, blah. Or I would take that, over what they were going through. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I am tripping. Maybe. But if it doesn't feel right in my spirit, it didn't settle with me. That's not what I signed up for. This is not what I can't do that. I can't compromise what I feel like it could be.
see, and that's the challenge, right? Because we started this thing off talking about Huff and a Puff.
I
Right?
know. Oh my God.
No, but it falls right in line because I'm gonna bring it back around. So it's tough because what we were doing is we had lack of communication. I was trying to please too many people at once. What I was doing was building a house of straw.
Well, and in your building that house of straw, I was not I wasn't very empathetic to your situation either, if that makes sense. I wasn't trying to say, well, dang, this is hard for him also because
Well, you
this,
couldn't.
that, or whatever.
You couldn't though because we were still trying to learn how to be a couple.
Husband and wife.
When you have two strong, independent individuals trying to come together, where it's already difficult trying to give up that independence to a certain extent, not your identity. Giving up your independence is very different from giving up your identity.
Well, and that could be a whole different podcast
True.
because for myself, like I think we kind of touched on it in the very beginning. I didn't know how to be a wife. I wasn't raised in a household with, my mom was a single
As was
woman.
mine. As was
And
mine.
the main thing that she told me, you make sure that you take care of yourself. You make sure that you can sustain. You make sure that all of those things. It was about Rana doing what Rana needs to do to make sure that Rana can stand on her own 2 feet. Don't rely on anyone. You don't ever be put in that situation where you have to rely on someone.
Right,
and then they disappoint you, and then you're stuck. So that was drilled in my head.
You just starting a whole new other podcast.
I'm sorry.
No, you're real, and that's what we're teaching our daughters. But get back to the Huff and a Puff. So we were building our house in a straw, but what you were just talking about as well, not only were we building a house of straw, we're building our house of straw in a community of straw houses. We had people around us that were living and surviving in a straw. We always talk about Iron Tribe. We try and bring it up and remind everybody, as iron sharpens iron, so should couples sharpen each other. You need to surround yourselves with other strong couples that can help you become a better couple as you're helping them become a better couple. And in doing that, you're building an iron tribe. A tribe is supposed to sit and protect each other, and not just physically, but also mentally and spiritually.
How many couples our peers of ours were married when we were married? How many married couples did you know?
Outside of family?
Yeah.
Outside of family, just a handful. And what's so funny? They were all Amway.
Oh, I forget about them.
They were all Amway. And it's funny because I had I used to do multi-level marketing Amway when I got out of the service, and that's how my first introduction to personal development was through that. But those are the couples I knew. That was it. I didn't really know because the people I knew that were married when I was in the service. You want to talk about some toxic relationships? That was some of the worst relationships. They still remain to be some of the worst relationships I've ever been around. And there's a whole other story behind that. I mean, I contributed to some of those bad relationships.
No.
And that will be a podcast for another day. But so you had a hard time surrounding ourselves with the right people. But I mean, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But what I want to get to is how, even though we were building our house of straw, there came a point where the big bad wolf, on our anniversary night came huffing and puffing and blowing the house down and blew our house down. She told me that she wanted a divorce, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And when she explained it, it was just, I had to make a choice. Was I going to stand up and become the husband I need? Well, let's put it this way. I didn't make that choice right there and right then because I thought I wasn't doing anything wrong. And it took a while for me to figure it out. And part of the story is, so we were living in the house. What? You're over there laughing.
Yeah, it took a while. Your sister.
What? Lynette?
Net. My sister, I should say.
See,
But anyway, we'll talk about that another time. And Dad. That's why I love Dad.
Well, but here's the thing. So I was going to move out. I ended up going to get an apartment. I put down money, a deposit on an apartment. Now, mind you, we still loved each other, but maybe we didn't like each other.
Well, yeah.
I didn't like you.
When
I'm just saying, I did. I did not like you.
I didn't like you.
But so Snooks worked for this company, and we're gonna go to the movies, or was it the movies? We were gonna go. We were going somewhere, and had to get the mail, and
You're talking about something totally different.
when I was gonna move out, no, and they said, "Oh, that might be your pink slip."
Babe, no. That is not what happened. No, because I got laid off and I called you. That was when, oh my gosh. Okay.
It all merges to me.
Yeah, no. So what happened was we decided that we were going to separate, and
I had to get
he
my own
was going
apartment.
he was going to move out. And so the day he went and put a deposit down, the day before he was supposed to move. He's supposed to move March 2nd.
How do you remember the day?
I just remember. So March 1st, I got laid off. And so I called him and I said, hey, I'm just calling to let you know I just got laid off. And my husband said, okay, well, I'm going to call the apartment and I'm going to tell them that I'm not going to be moving in. And his wife, in her anger, I was like, I'm going to get unemployment. I can afford the rent, so you can still move. And he said, no, I'm going to make sure that my family is taken care of. And then once you get a job and you get back on your feet, then I'll move. And I was like, all right. Begrudgingly, I said, all right.
See, I almost got out and I didn't even see it.
Whatever.
But that was a turning point.
That was,
Well, not right then, but that was the start.
but see, like you said, kind of hindsight is 2020. So a lot of I just feel like this. A lot of men would have been like, well, I guess you're gonna get unemployment.
Deuces.
Right. And you handle that and you take care of whatever. But he stepped up and he was like, no, I'm going to make sure that my family is taken care of. And I'm mad still. So I'm like, we okay. I'm thinking that in my head with some other things that were going through my mind, but we didn't, he stayed. He called the apartment and he told him, that he's not going to be moving in. And of course he lost his deposit, but
You owe me $800, by the way.
Oh, you what?
$800
It was not $800.
with interest.
It was $200.
It was not. It was $650.
It was $200.
$650.
It was $200.
$650.
It was $200.
You owe
That was
me.
the deposit.
Anyway,
You only put the deposit down.
she don't know.
See, you can't even remember the date. I remember everything.
I remember when I lose money.
Anyway,
$650.
so that was the best loss of money, I'll say. Oh, now you want to be quiet. Crickets, you ain't got nothing to say.
Chirp, chirp. So, but then that was a catalyst that got things rolling, you know? And so here's the beauty of the story, though, is that we started off with a house of straw. And on that day, we started building our house of wood. It wasn't quite brick yet, but we started building our house of wood. And
Unbeknownst to ourselves.
True, unbeknownst to ourselves. Mm-hmm. But that was when we started laying at least the foundation for our house of wood. And that's what people can do with your relationships. You can actually, just because you start building a house of straw doesn't mean that you have to stay in that house of straw.
Exactly.
You can upgrade.
Exactly.
You can remodel your house from straw over to wood. And then you start to work on things while you're building that house of wood. It's a little bit sturdier than it was at straw, mm-hmm. but you keep building and building and building and working at it. It's under construction. Here's the thing about constructions. Any of you that have ever worked construction or had friends or family that have been in construction, my father-in-law used to be a foreman for a construction company, and he did it for many years. And he used to always say that no matter what job you get, your job's only as good as the crew you put together. And the crew that we had started to put together really was, Snooks and I, my spouse and I, started to slowly work together and put together a solid crew. Now, it wasn't quite perfect. We still had a lot of growth, in the realm of finances, spirituality, a variety of different things. But we started building that house of wood. Mm-hmm. And then what transpired, we had more challenges. That big bad wolf showed up again and began to huff and puff, and we had to make decisions. But one of the biggest decisions I ever made was standing up on my own 2 feet and saying, you know what, I have to stand next to my wife. This is the woman that I chose, and I stood before God and took her as my mate. And we're supposed to be side by side, just as Adam and Eve were side by side. That's you can talk about the rib all you want, but the bottom line is one wasn't in front of the other; they were together. Mm-hmm. And that's what we became throughout this process. We became together, and it wasn't. I was no longer flavor of the month quite a few times within my family. And I hate to paint an ugly picture of my family. It was just that the way I grew up in my family, I was kind of put on a pedestal. And when things transpired the way they did with me, almost dying, all the situations, and then there was some misinformation in the news, and even though there was a retraction, nobody pays attention to the retractions. It's like when you tell a lie and you tell it on somebody, and then once somebody says, "Oh, you know what, my bad," people don't seem to remember the apology. They just remember what was said, and so there's a taint on that individual for quite some time. And so that's how it was. Even though that it was proven that the information was bad, people just never really let go of it. And so I had to stand up for my wife and protect her, and our relationship stood. And it was so funny. I think about this right now. What's so funny is that all the people that had something negative to say or were pushing on our relationship never had a solid relationship in their lives. Their houses, because there were multiple houses for many of these people, right. Were built of straw. And they traded in one straw house for another straw house, and that straw house for another straw house, and they were trying to tell me how to build my wooden house. They didn't know about brick. They didn't even know brick existed, I don't think.
Right.
And so, the beauty is that you can transition from one to the other. And it was over time and counseling. We started seeking counseling. We went to marriage counseling, which I'm very huge on any form of counseling whatsoever, because it takes a professional sometimes to sit there and give you a different idea, a different perspective that isn't going to gain anything from whether you make a decision one way or the other. They're simply there to help guide you down the path that they think is not so much best for you, but to help you come to your own conclusion and grow from it. And as we did that, we went to marriage counseling together, and then I went by myself and she went by herself.
Well,
and they told me I was not the problem.
And that's why we stopped going to that guy. No. No, but also, like you said, we went to marriage counseling. You have to be open to go also. Some people like you, I know you just joked and was like, yeah, they said I'm not the problem. But a lot of people feel like that in their relationships. Well, I ain't the problem, so I ain't going nowhere. Why do I need to? And she needs to, or he needs to.
Right.
And if you would just, so it's like, we've said it before. Do you want to be right or do you want the relationship? But it goes even deeper than that. If you see that there is something going on with your spouse or your partner, find out what it is. Talk about it. Hey, and sometimes those conversations are hard. So looking back over, every time I think about what happened when I told you we go to Morton's, when we went to Morton's and I said what I said to you, and I remember the look that you had on your face, it just makes me cringe because I was like, wow, I really hurt him. And I didn't, it wasn't like intentional, like I'm just going to hurt him and I'm going to, that was the first time that I felt like you cared because I saw the expression on your face. Like, oh, okay. But I had already said it, so I was committed to, no, I'm going to stick it out and I'm going to, do whatever. I'm going to go. Because I know I could raise my kids. Me and the kids, and, because I've seen that and I know how to do it.
But we survived. We were able to move beyond that. Mm-hmm. And it was at that moment after we went through counseling. I don't know what happened. Trust me, there was a lot of prayer. That's something we haven't mentioned. I was saved, but I was still kind of like in the shallow water, so to speak. I wasn't really in the deep end and really taking belief, but it was one of those things where I wasn't a big prayer person. And then when I started to pray, I started getting more involved in different things, like Promise Keepers and a variety of other things that I alluded to. And it was, Bible studies, and, Snooks was doing the same. And at some point, we woke up one day and we looked around and we realized that we were no longer living in a house of wood, that we realized that we were living in a brick house. Mm-hmm. But it took a lot of work. And it was one of those things that you didn't see the work or realize that you were building, but we were transforming the house from wood into brick. And then, and I wish I could give like a detailed A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is what you need to do. But what it really came down to for us was just putting in the work, showing up every day and putting in the work. And by putting in the work, it takes different forms for different people in different relationships in different situations.
Well, that's true, but it goes back to being open.
Right.
It goes back to being open. It goes back to saying, okay, I can do this. I can, how do you say? I could lose myself, not lose myself, but I could, what is it? I could be selfless.
Right.
I could put this person first. Because I know this person loves me and I love that person. But if all we think of is what we did not do wrong, I wasn't wrong. So why should I?
That's true. But, people always ask me, so what do you think is the key to, a good relationship, and Snooks and I have talked about this time and time again over the years. And I think the greatest thing was we both learned to submit to each other. And, I know there's the whole Proverbs thing, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding, Proverbs 31 and 32. And just, it's about
the virtuous woman.
About the virtuous woman. And a lot of women have a problem with that the thought process or the phrase of becoming submissive to a husband. But I'm taking it a bit further, and again, I know I'm not being the perfect theologian here, but what I am going to say is that in a relationship, you have to submit to each other. There's a bit of submission, and it's not about who's the man and who's the woman, but in order to become one and move, to be equally yoked and be able to move forward and carry the load and the burdens that are placed upon you, you have to submit to each other. And like you said, being selfless. And somehow or another, we became that as we were doing our daily work and staying in prayer and moving forward. And like I said, we woke up one day and realized that our house was made of brick. Now, just because the house was made of brick, it takes maintenance.
Well, yeah.
There is no house. I don't care where you live, what part of the country, or if you're in another country. I don't care where you live. There is work that needs to go into the maintenance of your house.
Well, I think maintenance is another podcast, and I think we should get into that in a different one.
Okay, that's good. No, I agree with you. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and close this one out, and we'll come back to you later to talk about maintenance. But once again, thank you for joining the Snooks and Lovey Show.
Snooks and Lovey.
So if you would, give us a rating. Go to snooksandlovey.com or send your friends and family there so that they can actually participate as well. Or you can always email us at snooksandlovey@gmail.com. We appreciate each and every one of you. We thank you for being a part of our Iron Tribe, and we look forward to spending more time with you. But in the meantime, until next time, be blessed.
Bye-bye.